Hey guys, good afternoon. Sorry, good afternoon. I know. All right, thanks for being here. I'm very happy to be on stage and talk to you about something that I have a true passion about, and it's this, Internet of Things. How many of you know what IoT is? By the way, I love the stage. I can still see you, which is good. Most of the time you have like massive flash in your eyes, so I can see you. IoT is a key topic these days, but it's been commoditized a lot, and we've seen a lot of really stupid solutions out there. So I want to be talking today about how this is changing for the better, okay? This. Oh yeah, no, it did happen, and it got sold. I never bought that for my kids, though, but it really happened. Or that. Of course, you've heard about Juicero. Yeah? Yeah, the biggest mistake ever. How to sunk your money into something that will never see the light of day. Oh, by the way, just press the thing and it works as well, right? Juicero, that was it. So I think we've done so many of those. I got a couple more examples for you. Look at that. How's that? Internet of poo, right? What about that sort of ponytail thing? Oh, yeah. Or how about the earplugs for dogs? I can go on and on and on. Seriously, internet of shit everywhere. We've seen many, many of those. So, how do we change this? This was 2017. This year was the year of transition from internet of bad ideas to something that really, hopefully will be making the world a better place. Now, if you look at the amount of consumer failures we've seen recently, this is a document that's been released by our friends at the research, and you could see that CB Insight is producing that many, many times around. This year has been a milestone for this. It's been ridiculous the amount of companies that we've seen failing. On top of that, wearables, of course, which have been the top examples of failures in the world of IoT. Now, look at that valuation. You all know Jawbone, I assume. How many of you actually owned a Jawbone in that room? Wow, that's surprising. Only one. Well, good job. This is the valuation that they used to have, up to $3 billion valuation, and now they literally sold and closed the company. Talk about a bad use of money right there. So what happened? How did that happen? Well, that's not the topic of today, but if you want to know more, you come and see me. I can tell you about it. But it's been basically really badly managed. And it's a set of very bad management decision, product decision, and distribution that led them to have a massive amount of money used for the wrong reasons. There's even a Twitter account. Look on the top left here. Oh yeah, Internet of Shit. I'm not kidding. And there is many really, really good, funny examples if you want to go and have a look at this. So we're going to move from this to what's the next thing. Now, I just want to make a brief stop on talking about what IoT is about and why did we have so many IoT solutions coming through the market. The first reason is the cost of sensors going down dramatically. I don't know if you can see much on that slide because it's a little bit small, but that's the first thing. From what used to be extremely expensive to produce, the cost of sensors drastically dropped and allowed people to create basically connected solutions for a fraction of the price. And you look at all the typical sensors that there is out there. Look at those, proximity sensors, leak level electricity, obviously humidity, acoustic, sound, chemical, all kind of different sensors out there. All of you have in your pocket a minimum of about 100 sensors. That's what you have on your smartphone, and maybe on your smartwatch or whatever. So it's a constant evolution of the world through sensors. The second thing is the cost of computing as well. The global compute cost trends have gone dramatically down, allowing to have massive amount of computing data done for, again, a fraction of what used to be. I mean, back in the very first ages of the computers, if you remember, the first IBM things were transported by a plane. They occupied a full room. Of course, now we have more power in our pocket and even our wrist than we've ever had at the time. The last one is storage. It used to be quite expensive to store data. You remember those first USB keys? 120 meg? Yeah, that's about 500 gig right now, right? So, of course, the cost of storage has reduced drastically, allowing not only more storage in a very small space, but even tiny, tiny, tiny bits of computing power in a fraction of the size. All of that created that IoT revolution. Now, I want to fast forward, well, not much because we're there already, but 2018. 2018 for me will be the year of change for IoT. At least that's what I'm working towards anyway. And I'm hoping you guys can join us. There's a couple of different key spaces where IoT will make an impact. The first one, which is kind of critical, and you can't see it because it's behind those things, but it's humans. That's an example of an IoT solution which really is a game changer. You know asthma, obviously? Any of you suffering from asthma in that room? Sorry, guys. That could help. So you all know the inhalers that everybody, unfortunately, has to use right now. This particular solution, propellers, those guys are creating a sensor that allows to have so much better use of those products, reducing the amount of time you have to do it and having a much better understanding of that, as well as connected the dots between you and your loved ones or even your carers, your doctors. So if you have an alert, if you have a dramatic asthma crisis, you can be monitored and you can actually be saved right there. So that's a typical use of a very sensible sensor put there. I want to take a very brief moment and looking at what wearables are today and how they've evolved, literally. So we've all known this. We talked about Jawbone, and there's been a sea of wearables out there, even before the smartwatches came on board. Tons and tons of really good ones, and most of them disappeared because they were basically bringing very little use or very little value to their users. And the clutter that you get in your drawers have been increasingly taking space. So how many of you have wearables in their drawers? I know I can name a few of us, yeah, and I have probably 5 in mine. I still have a friend of mine in London who carries about 7 in his wrist. Talk about a geek level. But this is what it is. It's been cluttering our life for very, very little good value brought. Now, this is about to change. From wearables, we're going to insidables. It's a bit of a freaky show on that one, right? It's not really something you want to do, but it is happening. The MIT has been doing that for many, many years now, creating those little pills, right? Insidables are a reality right now. So basically, intravenous, not even getting inside the second layer of skin, but just first layer of skin, 2 and 4 micromillimeters, getting more insight, more specific data into your health. You look at this. Ouch. Yeah. So we're not yet into micro robots getting in your bloodstream, but it actually happens. It works. It's not really commoditized or distributed yet in a public way, but this particular PelCam has been officially distributed for the first time a couple of months ago in the US. Now, you can imagine the amount of data you can get through that small video chip and camera. Now, can you imagine the size of that thing? When I said reduction, this is exactly what this is all about. So a very interesting use of what used to be wearables into a lot more insight to the real world of insidables. Trainables as well is a trend these days, right? So how to enable people to really use those data they get out of their wearables or their products to get better posture, for example, which Upright is an Israeli company we looked into. And those guys are really good. They've done an amazing product that allows you to get to your posture a little bit better and then just be like this all the time, which is, disease of our days, standing on desk or sitting on desk with computers all the time. Shockables, hearables, ringables, you can put ables everywhere. This is really the evolution of that world. And I think the first one could have been in the first part of my presentation, intended of useless gizmos, but they've actually done quite a good job at allowing people to get rid of their addictions. It's a bit of a shock therapy. I'm not really for that, but it kind of works in a small way towards allowing you to remember, oops, yeah, I shouldn't touch that cigarette. I shouldn't do this or that. So there you go. You have it. And there's tons of other products out there, right? From talking to health down to supporting your posture, allowing you to get, that first blood test, glucose test. Diabetes is a massive disease, and there's tons and tons of incredible solutions out there that is looking into that very specific space. So, again, we came from those totally useless pooping things to, real usable product that allows you to improve your health and make you a better person. The second impact, and again, you can't see it, but it's the planet itself. Environment is obviously a massive issue nowadays and not one that is going anywhere. So how does IoT can impact the world in making it, again, a more safe, a more secure, or even better, a less dying kind of planet? Just one small piece of data that you want to have in mind. In most emerging countries, they get access to more GSM coverage than they get access to water and electricity. That's freaking frightening. And it's a reality nowadays. Not a lack of water in your country, for sure. A lot over there. So just keeping that in mind in urban versus rural area, clearly what you want to do is how do you improve that? How do you make the odds better for people living in those regions and avoiding that massive amount of potential death that you could get because just people can't get access to drinkable water. I want to take a few examples of those sort of sensors-based, IoT-based technology that we see in the world. On the left side, you see, again, not sure you can still see that. So solar-powered air quality sensors in Benin has been doing an amazing job at avoiding those very polluted areas for people to get, lung cancers and all kind of different diseases. Second example, simple one. Again, those devices cost nothing and can be commoditized and developed at scale because they're really a fraction of every normal, commercialized solution out there. And you can do that with an Arduino for the cost of, a pack of cigarettes, really, and even less. Smart fire detection. And we go back to a solution that we've invested in later on, which is an amazing way to avoid those incredibly damaging fires spreading around the world. Last but not least, sensor measuring weather parameters. How do you prevent, floods? How do you prevent, massive amount of rain to damage, all those cultures that those guys have been living on and literally can not do anything else? Another one. Look at that. This is the size of the sensor on the top right hand. Tiny, tiny box, which is about the size of that clicker, right? And with this, they save a massive amount of things. They reduce, for a cost of about 10% more than what they used to have, they reduce by 80 to 90%. They actually improve and optimize the usage of the pump, the water pump in plantations and rice plantation, making it so much better for population to use those and actually get more value out of their rice plantation, which means more money, more valuation, more economic denser. So it is simple how to make it a real-life use with IoT. This company is one that we helped this year through Startupbootcamp called Internet of Trees. Actually, I mentioned it on stage about half an hour ago. Those guys are from Honduras. And I don't have to tell you how much fires are a problem these days. Just this year again, in 2017, a couple months ago, this is the amount of people that got killed just by massive fires in California. We're talking buildings destroyed, 3.5 areas larger than London, right? So massive, massive damage done. With a very simple device, you can put that and have preventive measures around this kind of things, right? And again, not even talking about the cost that you save, because the cost of that device versus the damage that has been done by those fires, it is just on a scale of magnitude that you can't even compass. So we want to make sure that those devices reach the population. So you can have with those modules detection of fire, water, humidity, temperature variation, all kind of different sort of pieces of data that allows you to prevent those incredible disasters. And of course, being connected, you can remotely manage that from wherever you are. You don't need to be in that particular area, but you can warn the authorities and all kind of different people. So it's an extremely useful solution, Internet of Trees. Another one of the companies that we helped, Odyssey Sensors. Those guys, based in the UK, are looking at Australia. Australia is a massive continent, huge amount of people, as well as massive lands. Now, the occupation of people and cities versus the land is clearly disproportionate because they're all on the coast, and in the middle, there's not much happening. Well, actually, there's a lot of production happening. There's a lot of cultures. There's a lot of agriculture. It's a massive country for agriculture. And yet, every year, they have tons and tons and tons of people that are suffering and not getting enough money to survive because they lose a lot of money on farm efficiencies, on water damage, on loss of stocks. So our friends from Odyssey Sensors are creating the solution that allows you to remotely monitor the water and avoid those sort of leaks that you get everywhere from old installations, saving tons and tons and tons of time on manual inspections of people going in the field. And again, I'm talking thousands of miles across, right? It's not like you can just walk around. You need helicopters for most of those things to go. So costly. Reducing only per farm, on average about 15K. 15K for a massive production is huge. You multiply that, it makes a lot of savings. So again, a very simple IoT device that allows to save a lot of money and make it, a better place. The last piece of, area that obviously IoT will impact is business itself, and particularly industrial side. So those guys in Germany have done a tremendous job at creating a simple solution called ProGlove that allows you to really have a better use of industrial sort of applications. And they basically can monitor and remotely use the machines without having their hands cut or having damages or insurance problems. So ProGlove, very simple solution, very efficient one, and again, a fraction of any single solution out there. Clearly, what's important in that particular piece of solution is the data you get out of that particular glove that allows you to optimize all the processes on the factory floor. So a really good solution out there. Another one, Zortec. It's a mix of health, because it allows to get a better sensors of those guys and monitor the workers on the factory floor. Because they get tired and they get sort of injuries, you have that sort of posture that allows to be monitored better and prevent those injuries to happen. So those guys out from Hungary, I think, have done a tremendous job at getting a very simple solution in an insole, putting that into specific shoes, and then allows workers to have better production and better solutions out there. Again, simple, and you got tons and tons of solution that allows to use the word of sensors and IoT and make it something much more refined. So it's all about impact. I want to stop on that slide for a second. I have about 4 minutes left, and I've got a few more to show you. But impact for me has been the word of 2017, and it's been a little bit overused, right? Impact tech, tech for good, we see that everywhere. We see popping up, accelerators, investors, structures to support on that front. But it is a reality that we cannot ignore anymore. The new generations of investors, innovators are living by one single promise, which is we don't want to be living in a world that doesn't care about the future. We don't want to be investing in a company that will not impact the world in a positive way. We don't want to be joining a company that will not care about redistributing wealth or support the next generation. I'm 100% behind that, but I want to be doing more than this. And there's ways to do that, but there's also a lot of challenges. If you look just at the IoT world itself, the amount of barriers that those people see, from regulations, security, privacy of data, which is a reality, to interoperability, cross-border concerns, IPR, protection of any kind of device thing. So that's just a fraction of those devices' problem on the technical side as well as on the policy side. So they need help. They need more people looking into this and pushing in the right direction. That's what we do at Startupbootcamp. We care about the future. And we are now one of the biggest global accelerators in the world, alongside our friend at Techstars and a couple of other guys. And we want to be looking at impacts. We have been lucky to help north of 600 entrepreneurs around the world so far. And we run, as I said, 23 programs now around the world in 17 cities everywhere. And this has given us the ability to have a much wider look at this particular impact. A much more refined set of investors, partners, mentors, as well as entrepreneurs coming to us saying, well, can you tell me what's happening in Australia? Can you tell me what's happening in India? How can we help those guys? How can you source those guys? We talk on average every year to per program, 1,000+ entrepreneurs. And this is clearly a source of information that is unbelievably useful to look at that impact around the world. Those are the segments that we're going to be looking at this year for my particular program in London. And as you can see on the right side of the slide, impact is really key for us. Even though it might be the smallest part of the slide, it is by far the most important for me. So if you know any company out there that we can help that are about IoT and impact, please talk to me, come to me, let us know. We want to be helping them, and we want to be getting the next innovators out there so that they can really impact the world in a positive way. In closing, I would say, those winning solutions on IoT will be about not only serving this industrial space, which will be making a big impact on the business side, but also looking at that last mile problem, which again in those emerging countries are critical and will bring those life-changing services to the mass. They need to be cost-effective. They need to be resilient. They need to be resistant to injuries. The rain, the flooding, and all kinds of different things. They need to be low power, because you can't just change in remote locations your battery every 2 weeks, right? You cannot just do that. And we're getting into a space where the low consumption, both on the network side as well as on the usage of those devices and the sensors consumption, allow those to have an autonomy for more than 1.5 years to 2 years. Now we're getting sustainability in there. And last but not least, it needs to be scalable, cost-effective, so you can scale that at mass around the world. So if you've been inspired by this and you want to join us, come and talk to me. Write me an email. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. Thank you very much.